Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Gainesville, often shortened to UUFG. My name is Sheila Bishop, and I will be your worship associate today. I'm a mid-sized, middle-aged white person with brown hair with lots of highlights, some gray showing. You can use she, her pronouns. Today I am wearing kind of tannish shorts, black sneakers, and a green shirt with yellow, orange, and green stripes that says "World's Okayest Sister." That was a Christmas present from my sister, so you know. We are grateful you are here, whether you're sitting in the sanctuary, prepping in the kitchen, ushering, monitoring the foyer, running the AV, or playing on the playground. We are grateful if you sing in the choir or play music for us. We are grateful for all the small and big ways you participate and serve our community. We're grateful if you join from our sibling church in Valdosta, Georgia, or from Stark, or Palatka, or the Nature Coast, or elsewhere. However you worship with us, thank you. As we gather here today, we honor the Timucua, Seminole, and all other Native peoples who lived on and cared for this land long before us. After the service, we invite you to stay for coffee hour, especially if you're new. Drinks and refreshments and conversation will be shared in the Phillips Social Hall. And if you're a visitor, we encourage you to stop by the green welcome table. Our welcome team would love to tell you more about our congregation and Unitarian Universalism. Today's service is about summer and the summer solstice, which is also known as Litha. Our service was developed with the Sacred Oak Covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Pagans, often shortened to SOCUUPs. I always spell it wrong the first time. I always do SOCUUU. It's complicated, but it stands for something larger within UU, which is a covenant of pagans. Instead of a sermon, we are going to continue our tradition of sermonettes, and several different people are going to give sermonettes about either working or playing with the land. If you're interested in finding out more about SOCUUPs, you might stay for our afternoon workshops. They're in several different places. Or you can talk to Caitlin Ron, anyone about getting involved. All right, I'm going to invite Crystal up to get us started.
Good morning. I'm Crystal Seidel. I am a small woman. I'm wearing a yellow dress today in honor of the sun. Elizabeth Stewart said I look like sunshine, so that is a great compliment. The wheel of the year has turned once again. Before we light the chalice, we will do a short grounding meditation to become present and connected to the earth beneath us and the sky above. Then we'll cast the circle, which creates a sacred space. Seeing this time apart from the world, as part of that, we'll call the elements air, fire, water, and earth. Each represents part of life and part of ourselves, our thoughts, our passions, our emotions, and our bodies. At the end of the service, we will thank the elements and release the circle. But first, I just realized that we need to do the chalice. So, can I call Alex up, please? Oh, just kidding. Yeah, okay. So, thank you, Alex. Okay, so now take a deep breath, letting the air fill your lungs. Feel your feet firmly upon the earth, the steady support beneath you. With each exhale, release what no longer serves you. With each inhale, draw in the sun. Imagine roots extending from your feet into the soil, reaching deep into the earth. Above, envision branches of light stretching skyward, catching the warmth of the sun. You are rooted in sun-warmed soil, reaching into light. Can I please get Deborah, James, Sheila, and also Deborah to come stand in the directions. Spirits of air, breath of change and clarity, we welcome your wisdom and inspiration. Fill our thoughts with radiance and warmth. Hail and welcome. Spirits of fire, spark of transformation and passion, we welcome your warmth and courage. Fire up our creativity and lust for life. Hail and welcome. Spirits of water, flow of emotion and intuition, we welcome your healing and compassion. Float us down cold water springs of delight. Hail and welcome. Spirits of earth, foundation of strength and abundance, we welcome your stability and grounding. Firm up our resolve to play and work in and preserve our outdoor spaces. Hail and welcome. Above and below, within and without, we are centered, we are whole. The circle is cast, the sacred space is created. Please rise in body and spirit as you are willing and able to joyfully sing hymn number 1067, Mother Earth, Beloved Garden. The Solstice Teaches Us by David Breeden. The solstice teaches us that darkness comes, that darkness goes. The solstice teaches us that light comes, that light goes. The solstice teaches us calmly, silently, to be calm and silent, learning. The solstice teaches us, as we circle the sun, that everything flies. The solstice teaches us to remember the dark, to remember the light, to remember time, the seasons and love as we circle the sun.
Each week we invite you to write in the Book of Joys and Sorrows, which you'll find on a table near the doors of the sanctuary before the service starts. We believe that a joy shared is multiplied and a concern shared is divided. One of our joys is visitors. So I'm going to read some names out. You don't have to stand or even raise your hand, but you're welcome to. So our visitors today are Liz Phoenix, Aaron and Ryan Johnston, and Ben, Max, and Mia. So welcome. So from our book today, Anonymous, Sometimes Life is Hard. Destin Rushing writes, "This past week was scary for me. On Wednesday, I had a seizure and was taken to the ER. It is too early to tell if I'm at risk of having another. While at the hospital, I was reminded of how many people there are in my life who care about me. I will keep my head held high." Nancy Parkinson writes, "After 2 years of treatment at the Cancer Center, I am free of a blood disorder." Congratulations. Jonathan Carone writes, "Every day can be a gift. Sometimes it can be hard to remember that." And Susan Cohn writes, "Last week would have been my nephew Matthew's 29th birthday. He did not live to celebrate it. Matthew took his life last year. My dear sweet sister Heidi is struggling. Please lift her up." Last week also marked 10 years since the Pulse nightclub massacre. We must not become numb to the scourge of gun violence in America, whether it be mass shootings, suicide, or domestic violence. We must keep working and honor with action. That one's going to take me a moment. Sorry. We all carry joys and concerns and sorrows and all sorts of other emotions, and some we may not speak aloud but hold in our hearts. For these unspoken joys and sorrows, we invite you to come forward and drop a stone in our communal water bowl. If you are in the sanctuary and are unable or do not want to come forward, we invite you, if you're comfortable, to ask someone next to you to drop a stone in the bowl for you. At the end, Elizabeth from the care team will drop stones for any joys and or sorrows held by folks who are watching us online. Let the water represent the love and support of this church community for all who are gathered.
Good morning. My name is James Chase, and I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Formation here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Gainesville. I'm a white, medium-sized, non-binary person with glasses and short curly hair, and today when I got up and got dressed, my husband told me I looked like a Buddhist pirate. And I think he was apparently not wrong. I'm wearing a burgundy, wine-colored, red sleeveless shirt with kind of a high collar. I am wearing a necklace that's silver and has a image of a sun on it, and yellow mustardy pants that are very loose and flowing and have excellent pockets. Pockets, indeed. Indeed, correct. I'd like to invite our children forward today, and we're going to talk about something that I imagine you can tell me a little bit about. Anyone who would like to sit next to me today or in front of me or with me in some way and talk about summer. We're going to talk about the simplicity of summer, and then we're going to get just a little bit more complicated with it, because why not? Okay, so who here, children or adults, please engage, all ages is what I've been told this moment is for. Who here knows what summer is? Show of hands. We have an idea of summer. Veronica, you don't know what summer is? No idea what summer is.
Wait, is it
The thing after winter.
season after winter?
Summer comes after winter eventually. Usually there's an intermittent, like a... It's also before winter. Technically correct. Which is my favorite kind of correct. It is not in winter, usually, unless something's gone wrong. Okay, so... Mary, what do you think summer is?
Summer, I think we can go to the beach
In the summer, you can go to the beach. This is true. And it's really hot. And you can drink hot chocolate if you choose to. Legally, no one can stop you. So you could. All right, Rowan, tell me, what do you know about summer? Is there school during summer? You could go to a camp. Yep. Usually, traditionally, I think there's some shifts away from this, and now you have all year long school for some schools. But usually, summer is when school is out. Savannah, are you going to school right now?
Nope.
Nope. No, we are not doing school right now. And is that good or bad?
Not to the next decade am I going to school.
You don't want to go back to school for a whole decade. All right, so what else about summer? Has anyone noticed when it's bedtime, is it still dark outside?
Yes.
Is it dark when you usually go to bed?
Yes.
Not when I go to bed. I go to bed and it's almost 9 o'clock and it's still a little bit bright outside. Have you noticed the days getting longer?
No.
Yes. Is it bright earlier
Yes.
in the morning?
Yes.
Is it dark later at night?
No.
Kind of. Okay. So that is the thing that scientists have proven does happen. That is a true thing. I'm not just making that part up. What's up, Savannah?
I go to bed at 7:15.
And is it bright outside?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So sun still up at 7:15, which is not true in the winter. Let's not mess with this cable because that could be a tripping hazard. So we're going to just... Okay. Does anyone know why during the summer the days are longer? Yeah. Remy. Come here, come closer. I can't hear you. You're all the way over there. You don't have one of these. Our position around the sun. Yeah, it has to do with how close are we and how not close. But it's actually really a cool thing, and I left my stick over there, but I'm going to use one of these, Rowan. Did you know that once upon a time, a long, long time ago, when our planet was only 500 million years old, just a baby, just a little tiny baby planet, this planet was still all magma.
And what about this is the sun?
You be the sun, perfect. Mary's being the sun. I'm going to be the axis of our planet. Our planet was spinning and spinning and cooking, and it was trying to become Earth, but it wasn't actually Earth yet. It was a little proto-Earth. It was all magma and fire, and probably there was no bacteria on it that could survive. You can be all of the fire that you want, Rowan. And so this planet is spinning and spinning and spinning, and actually, Rowan, could you be another planet called Thea? Thea. There was another planet that, as our planet was forming and cooking, come and bash Thea right into the Earth planet. Can you run right into Earth? Oh my gosh. What even hit? And then Thea pretty much just stays here, but a bunch of stuff, just explosions everywhere. It's so hot, it's so intense. And then our moon formed out of some of the debris from that. Yeah. What? The sun is right over here. Yeah, we're still pretty far from the sun, which is lucky, because otherwise, like, that would have been a very different Earth. But we're still spinning. But look at this. You've got the moon now. After we got punched in the face by Thea, our planet is now spinning like this. And our planet has been spinning like this at about the same axis of 23 degrees for ever since then. Do you know that if that hadn't happened, do you think that was fun? When there was a big collision of two planets, do you think that was very fun at all? Do you think we would have survived that? No. But guess what else? If we, oh, hey, hold on, let me talk. My turn. You would want to be an underground bunker. Oh, you can be you be the moon. That's fine. So, hold on, I'm losing you. Wait, hold on. Everybody, shh, shh, shh. Nope, focus on me for a second. I'm the center of attention right now. We're getting lost. We're getting lost. It's my turn. Hold on. All right, so we've got this angle, right? And this happened from something that was probably actually really, really terrible. Probably, if that was something that we could assign any meaning to, if the Earth had nerve endings, that would have hurt. And something came out of that. Do you know what came out of that? All of the seasons. If we didn't have that happen, that wouldn't have happened. The moon came out of that. We wouldn't have a moon if we hadn't gotten punched in the face by Thea. And Thea is still with us. Thea is still part of Earth, and it's so cool because we can measure and say, that moon is made of the same stuff as what's on our planet. How wild is that? So we are all here because something happened to our planet so long ago that we're still seeing the impacts from it. And what a violent beginning. And we wonder about, we're just this expression of everything that came before us, and we wonder why we are the way we are. Okay, last thing. We've lost the plot on that one. Okay, we found the moon. Thank goodness for that. All right, we're gonna call it good. Thank you, everyone.
One of the things about summer is it's often a time for festivals of freedom. This summer, it's kind of a big deal because July 4th is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, when the United States declared independence from Britain. And I was 4 in 1976 when there was like some big thing. I only vaguely remember the big things then. But this year, I'm not going to be celebrating July 4th. Instead, I'm going to be celebrating Juneteenth. Often, Juneteenth is called the second independence of America. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about Juneteenth, which is June 19th, and why I suggest perhaps we focus on it instead this year. So Juneteenth celebrates the date June 19th, 1865, when Union soldiers went into Galveston, Texas, and read Order Number 3, which let all the African Americans who were enslaved in Texas know that they were free. That was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. And folks in Texas started celebrating in 1866, and it kind of spread from there. If you read the history online, there are some debates about how other folks took this awesome Southern Texas holiday. So it's kind of interesting if you want to dig in. But it became an official U.S. federal holiday in 2021 when then President Joe Biden signed it. I think it's important in this time in which voting rights are being rolled back and challenged for us to honor America's second Independence Day, because it may get at something kind of important. The Declaration of Independence, which I often explored with college students, says that everyone has the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But one of the things when you talk to students about that is that at that time, that right was only really for white men. And I think I've mentioned this before, there were arguments at the time that it should only be white men who own property. And it's only through various struggles that those rights have been expanded. And Juneteenth represents kind of the delayed promise of the American dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. One of the things to think about is that there are a number of celebrations in Gainesville happening. I'm not going to list all of them, but there's a couple to think about. There's Family Story Time at Depot Park on Friday, June 18th. There is Honoring the Journey, Advancing the Dream at Santa Fe Blount Center on June 18th from noon to 7 p.m. I don't know if there's registration required for that one. There are 2 events at Bo Diddley Plaza, one on June 19th and one on June 20th that are free and open to the public. And just so you know, Juneteenth is a portmanteau, I may be saying that wrong, of June and 19th. It's really common to wear red and to eat and drink red items. And the red comes from West African symbology of strength, spirituality, life, and death. One of the things, I have 2 more things on Juneteenth. If you want to honor Juneteenth, I encourage you to go to a local event, learn a little bit about African American history, but also consider investigating the NAACP's Out of Bounds campaign, which is they are calling on Black athletes, families, alumni, fans, and allies to withhold athletic and financial support to public universities in southern states that are attacking Black voters' right to vote. And it's one thing to think about. It hasn't gotten much press, but it's still up there. And to consider redirecting your support to historically Black colleges instead. And I know this may be hard for some of you sports fans, but you might want to consider not attending sporting events in states that are actively rolling back the rights of Black folks to have part of democracy. I'm going to end our thoughts on Juneteenth by reading a short quote from Kelly Navy, an oral historian at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Quote, "This year at Juneteenth, as you take a long swallow from a cool drink of hibiscus iced tea or red punch, remember the ancestors who sacrificed. Remember the blood shed in the struggle. Remember the collective strength of the people of the African diaspora. And finally, remember the spirituality and transcendent joy that enabled us to overcome." To sort of cap that off, we're going to sing together a song, and Kirsten asked me to tell you a little bit about it. I didn't plan this, so it's a little bit rambly. In 1900, civil rights activist and educator James Rosamond Johnson and his brother James Weldon Johnson, who were based in Jacksonville, Florida, wrote a hymn, which you'll find out in a moment, It was first performed by 500 school children at a segregated school in Jacksonville called Staten School, and it was in honor of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. In 1919, the NAACP adopted it as their official song. So, please rise in body and spirit as you are willing and able to joyfully lift every voice and sing hymn number 149. Now Anna's going to come give a little sermonette about working with the land.
Thank you, Sheila. I am Anna. I am a member of this church and a member of the worship team, and I'm a white 42-year-old woman of European descent, and today I'm wearing a pink flowery tank top. It felt summery, and pink shorts, and some light blue sneakers that are kind of dirty from enjoying nature. And some frog earrings. All right, let me pull up my sermonette. So I have been working outside in our beautiful, unique Florida ecosystems as a wildlife biologist for about 20 years. It's crazy to say that. This work has been year-round, but today, of course, I'm going to focus on my outdoor work in summer. As a master's student at the University of South Florida, I spent my summers out in the swamps by day, setting and checking traps for our native large eel-like salamanders, which are called sirens and amphiomas. If you've never seen one, I encourage you to Google them later. My ultimate happy place is in a pair of chest waders wading through Florida's freshwater wetlands, fully immersed in the teeming wetland life, pulling up traps that may have small mud turtles, alien-like dragonfly larvae, big toe-biter beetles, really cool aquatic snakes, beautiful little freshwater fishes, and of course, my favorites, frogs and salamanders. By night, as a master's student, I was often out in cypress dome wetlands conducting frog and toad calling surveys, listening to the amorous calls of male frogs and toads as they called the females of their species to meet them at the breeding ponds. I learned to distinguish the different calls of 12 or so different species and estimated the numbers of calling males of each one. Having the privilege of getting to experience the vibrant nightlife that goes on deep within the green swamp in Central Florida. Hearing what I could only assume was surely a black bear coming straight for me, crashing through the saw palmettos, and turning my headlamp towards the sound, only to see a clumsy little armadillo pop out of the bushes. That happened almost nightly when I was doing this. After graduate school, my summer work included surveying for Florida scrub jays in the Ocala National Forest, conducting a radiotelemetry study on gopher frogs in that same forest, and surveying and monitoring state-threatened shorebird species at Anastasia State Park. The Florida scrub jay surveys happened in June. It sure is hot out in the open Florida scrub that time of year, but man, do you get to see cool stuff. Black bear footprints in the sand, and a glimpse into Florida scrub jay family groups and territorial disputes. One way to survey for Florida scrub jays is to make them angry. They're very territorial, and each scrub jay family defends its territory. I would hold a small portable speaker up in the air at each survey spot and play pre-recorded territorial scrub jay calls. If a scrub jay family lived in that area, it would take mere minutes for a scrub jay to appear loudly and angrily, calling back to whoever this non-resident scrub jay was who dared set foot in its territory. These surveys were done in June because there's a small window of time when the juvenile scrub jays that were born that year are able to fly and leave the nest and have not developed their full adult feathers yet, and so can still be told apart from their parents. There's nothing like radio telemetry to really get immersed in a glimpse of the day-to-day life of a gopher frog. Learning which frog lives in which gopher tortoise burrow, and the perils of spending too much time outside of the burrow, chief among which is the threat of being eaten by a snake. I also learned that a gopher frog on the surface, outside of the tortoise burrow, could spot and hear me much more quickly than I could spy its well-camouflaged pattern as it crouched in the undergrowth. I spent at least 30 minutes walking in circles one day, trying to hone in on the radio signal of one of the frogs. And when I finally saw it, it had puffed its entire body up like a balloon because it saw and heard me that whole time and was very concerned that I might be a large predator that was about to try and eat it. For 5 years, I spent approximately 1 day a week each summer surveying and monitoring nesting shorebirds at Anastasia State Park in St. Augustine. This work was primarily with least terns, Wilson's plovers, and occasionally black skimmers. I would work with other biologists to post off prospective nesting areas on the beach in the spring before the birds arrived, and we would do this with sign and twine. Unfortunately, though, the birds can't read the signs, so they would sometimes choose other areas of the beach to nest on, and we would need to go back and expand or change the posted areas. We would watch them arrive in the spring and start courting, then digging nest scrapes in the sand, laying eggs, and through the summer hatching and raising their chicks, all the way from tiny flightless fluff balls to full-grown flight-capable birds, ready to fly south with their parents. I grew up going to Florida beaches and had no idea until I worked with these species that we had these amazing birds, digging little depressions in the sand to use as nests and raising their chicks right out on the open beach. We live in a state with amazing native ecosystems and wildlife, and even in the heat of summer, there's so much beauty and wonder in our natural world to experience.
I'm so happy with the sermonettes today. Okay, I gotta turn my page. Before we ask for your offering, we offer a short reading from The Path of Paganism by John Beckett to help us reflect on the seventh UU principle, which is, quote, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, end quote. John Beckett writes, we're people who recognize we're not placed on earth, we grew out of earth. We stand in awe of the power and beauty of nature, even as we struggle to know if that power and beauty comes from God or the gods, or if it simply is. We understand something so beautiful and powerful is sacred and has inherent value of its own. And we know our sacred obligation is to care for the earth respectfully, diligently, intelligently, and lovingly. So riffing off Beckett, another one of our sacred obligations is to care for each other respectfully, diligently, intelligently, and lovingly. We treasure all the ways that you and I, all the ways we show up for each other, in friendship, in service, and in financial support. If you would like to make a financial offering today, the ushers will move through the sanctuary, or you can use the QR code to give online. So I'd now like to invite Sarah G. to come up and give another little sermonette.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sarah G., and I am new to this fellowship, so thank you so much for the warm welcome and the opportunity to share a little bit of my summer with you today. Growing up, my family took a 2-week road trip every summer from South Florida to southeastern Kentucky. It was a one-stoplight town where my father's side of the family had deep generational roots. I loved going to my Mammy's. Good food, good people, and this beautiful plant that was growing right in her flower bed on her front porch. It was something I'd never seen anywhere else in my life. Before we'd leave to make the 14-hour drive back home, I would always take one of the flowers with me to admire how beautiful it was and smell it until it wilted somewhere around Georgia. Fast forward to a few years ago, I was flipping through a seed catalog looking for things I could plant in my new backyard garden, and I saw the flower. I couldn't believe my eyes. I learned it had a name, the passion flower. Now, I know how that sounds. So like growing up in South Florida, of course, I have seen passion fruit my whole life. I had just never once connected it to this flower that I had only ever seen at my Mammy's. So I ordered the seeds. And I recently had an accessible ramp and deck built at my house with handrails, and I figured that would be the perfect space for these beautiful vines to grow. It took a little while for them to establish, but they did. And then they kept going. Do I have slide deck? There we go. What you're looking at is the consequence of my decision. That vine has been on my railing for over a year, I have learned, through additional research that I wish I had done earlier, that the passion vine does not only spread by seed, it spreads by rhizome through the roots, which is why I have been finding it growing up through the slats of my deck, on the other side of my house, underneath the skirting of my home, working its way to my front porch. I have to pull it off that window on a regular basis because that is my son's window. And if this vine had its way, it would be inside his room by August. And I'm not as aggressive with trimming it as I probably should be, and here's why. Next slide, please. As summer deepens, these bright orange and black caterpillars show up and strip the vines bald. I had no idea what these were the first summer. And then a few months later, I started seeing these beautiful orange butterflies everywhere, all over my yard, all over my garden, and I was thinking, where the hell are these coming from? And then I started noticing them on my deck, on my steps, not flying yet, just resting, wings still opening. And that's when I actually looked. And then I found the chrysalis hanging off my deck. Not yet. And then I found the chrysalis hanging off my deck on the dried stems, attaching to the most random things alongside of my house. At every stage of becoming, I had walked past them for weeks without even noticing. So I finally Googled it. Next slide, yes. So this is the Gulf fritillary. It is one of the most common orange butterflies in Florida, where the females will primarily lay their eggs on passion vines. I didn't just accidentally attract them. I became a necessary part of their life cycle, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. Something I had planted out of nostalgia that became an invasion of rhizomes and weird-looking caterpillars brought me a yard full of fluttering butterfly wings. If there's anything to take from this, be thoughtful about where you plant things. More thoughtful than me. But also, pay attention to what shows up uninvited, because sometimes it's the best part of the story. Thank you.
Nice, huh? Yeah. So I'm going to finish us off with another sermonette that is short and sweaty. Not sweet, sweaty. Because I'm going to encourage you all, and I feel emboldened even more so based on the previous sermonettes, to get outside in the Florida wet heat. As someone who grew up in this part of Florida without AC, I'm going to tell you that sometimes my back gets up when people who move here complain about the heat and the humidity. I'm like, why did y'all move here? When I was in my 20s, I moved out to San Francisco for 4 years. And it's beautiful out there, but the weather never felt like home to me. But I never complained to natives about the weather, right? It's like, it seems disrespectful to me. So I get it, we all get to kvetch a little bit about the weather, that's just human nature, but maybe if you're in Florida, embrace it, right? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about San Francisco so you understand why I think you should be out in the wet heat. When I lived there in the mid-late 90s, then it's changed since then because of climate change. It was 45 to 65 year-round, and it was gray in July and August because of the fog, and the rainy season was like mid-November to like sometime close to April, sometimes into April, sometimes mid-March. And it was beautiful. The fog rolling over the hills into the city is amazingly beautiful. But 65 is over 10 degrees colder than your AC should be set at. And to me, that was cold. And I had a bunch of craptastic jobs in corporate America as a temp, and I would be in these horrible skyscrapers in downtown San Francisco, and I'd come down at noon in July, and I just wanted the warmth, and it would be 55 degrees and gray. So I would go to this women's-only bathhouse on Valencia Street, which probably doesn't exist anymore because bad things happened to San Francisco over the years. And I would go to the saunas. I'd go to the dry sauna, but I'm going to tell you I spent more time in the wet sauna. The wet sauna felt like home to me. I was homesick. San Francisco is an amazing city, but it was a hard place for me those 4 years I was there. And I would go in the wet sauna, and the heat would bake the cold and some despair and grief out of my body and bones. One year, in December, I came home. I couldn't afford to come home very often. My Nana had just died, and I grew up next door to my Nana. Unlike a lot of folks, I grew up in a multi-generation family. And I was so sad. And I stepped out of the Jacksonville airport, and it was warm and moist. And I felt like I was being hugged by the weather. Like it made me feel okay. And I know April is hard to get used to. April, there's like the ramp up of humidity. I always have a little bit of trouble in April. But in May and June, I am outdoors as much as I can be. You're gonna sweat. There's some evidence that saunas, dry and wet, are like good for our physical and mental health, and there's kind of a craze now. There's like a bunch of saunas in town, and there's one being built that's gonna have wet saunas. I'm probably gonna try it out sometime because I like saunas, but I also think we got a natural free sauna. That get outside, experience it. Go out earlier in the day, later in the day, wear your sunscreen, make sure you're hydrated. Find a way to avoid the thunderstorms, right? But get outside and let that warm heat bake grief and sorrow and despair out of your body and bones. That's all I'm going to say today. Please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able to joyfully sing hymn number 51, Lady of the Seasons' Laughter.
extinguishing the chalice for today is Alex. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. On this day of midsummer, may the sun bring you warmth, may the earth support you, may the air renew you and the fire ignite your spirit. May the sun bring you new beginnings, and may the moon make dreams take flight. May the balance you seek be found within you, and may the love you give be returned to you tenfold. So mote it be. Now we give thanks to the elements who have joined us and release them with gratitude. Spirits of earth, steady ground, and fertile soil, we thank you for your strength and stability. As we release you, may your lessons of roots and shoots remain. Hail and farewell. Spirits of water, deep tides of emotion and intuition, we thank you for your healing and flow. As we release you, may your currents guide us in the turning of the year. Hail and farewell. Spirits of fire, bright flame of passion and transformation, we thank you for your courage and warmth. As we release you, may your spark continue to light our way in the coming days. Hail and farewell. Spirits of air, whisper of wisdom and breath of life, we thank you for your clarity and inspiration. As we release you, may your winds carry us into the balance of the season. Hail and farewell. The circle that we have cast is now open, yet never broken. May we carry the light and the dark within us into the turning of the year. Blessed Litha, and may peace walk with you.